such a pleasure for me to be here. And you know, we've gotten into, I guess now this is the fourth day of these big global days of action that we've done around the world at 350.org. And this is the first time I've ever gotten to be home for one of them. And it's so much fun for me. And partly I'm here because I was sort of feeling guilty all year because I wasn't here right after Irene. We were in Washington. I'd just come out of jail the day before Irene hit from this plasma thing. And it absolutely just killed me to be, on the phone with my wife and my neighbors and things and hearing everything that was going on and just wanting so much to just back with kind of shovel in my hand, and helping out, feeling like doing something really concrete. And the next day, a busload of people appeared down in Washington from Vermont to get arrested. And they had a hell of a hard time even just getting out of Vermont, finding a bridge to get the bus over and things. But there they were, and they said, we can't stop now, too late to have stopped Irene, but we've got to stop the next one. We can't keep doing this in Vermont or anywhere else. And it just made me feel so much at home. This is the place that if we're going to get out of the mess that we're in, this is one of the places that's going to have to lead the way. And it was so nice to hear Sue Minter talk and be able to thank her for that work. And it was so great to be able to hear Bernie talk. There is nobody. I've learned a lot about Washington in the last year, a lot more than I ever knew before. And most of it is really bad. But the one thing that isn't bad is our delegation to Washington. And I got to tell you, Bernie is the stand-up guy of stand-up guys, and he's leading the fight. Thursday, I'm going down to D.C. because we're helping him introduce a bill that'll take $10 billion a year in fossil fuel subsidies away from the coal and oil and gas industry. Put it to some good use, and we probably can think of one or two people in this society who need the money a little worse than Exxon, Look, it's been a really powerful day for me to be out here, but also to be sitting in front of the computer, which is what I've done for most of the day, watching pictures come in from all over the globe and kind of blogging them and getting them up on the screen and things. And I cannot tell you how beautiful and moving out. This time even more than usual, because every picture pretty much that's coming in is from some place that's felt the sting of climate change already. I wrote the first book about all this 23 years ago, and then it was kind of a little bit abstract still and theoretical. It was something that was gonna happen. But now it's something that is happening every day. And so the sun rose first in the Pacific, and there was a team of people underwater there in the Marshall Islands on their dying coral reef holding a banner to "Your carbon emissions kill our coral." And then they got to New Zealand, and there were people forming a human seawall out in the harbor showing where the water's going to rise. And then it was Australia, and they're having a kind of memorial for 175 people who were killed in the suburbs of Melbourne by an absolutely out-of-control wildfire like something no one had ever seen on the hottest day they'd ever recorded there. Then there were pictures coming in from Asia, and some of them just would break your heart. Just the simplest descriptions. There was a group of people standing outside a dam, and it said, "This is the water dam in our Rajalapalli village, and there is no water behind it, and we don't know how we're going to make it through the year." And there were pictures of women surrounding dry wells, you know, and then you'd get pictures from Thailand. Buddhist monks in front of a temple destroyed in December's flooding. A few months after Irene, a flood that did such damage in Thailand, they think it was the equivalent of 18% of the country's GDP washed away down the river. And then there was a picture from our friends in Kampala, Uganda, and they were planning to do an event about how flooding, this sort of recurrent flooding now, was making life so hard in their place, and they did do it, but the important picture was from outside the building, because it flooded again today there, and it was just knee deep, and they said the only way people could get here is if they could afford 5,000 shillings to have someone put them on their back and carry them across the flood, you know, into this place. And pictures like that have just been pouring in, and some of them of course from Vermont. A bunch of us, great Dennis and Malid, were down in Bartonsville Bridge in Rockingham last Saturday, that bridge that everybody's seen the YouTube of it disappearing into the river. And then there's a picture today from Cuttingsville, from that beautiful organic farm, but it's now, you know, 1.5 feet of sand from where the river came up across the fields. And all those things are tragic and hard, and the message that's going out all over the world today is, don't think of these as one-off tragedies or singular events, and don't send us your pity. It's the last thing in the world we need. What we need is for people to connect those dots, to see the pattern emerge, to understand that there's nothing accidental anymore about any of this. This is exactly what the scientists told us global warming was going to look like, and now we can see it. And we're only at the beginning of it, of course. We've only raised the temperature a degree. Those very same scientists tell us unless we get our act together very fast, unless we get off coal and gas and oil very fast, that 1 degree will be 4 or 5 degrees. And if that happens, you know, there's not enough. We're never going to build bridges fast enough to replace the ones that wash away, and roads fast enough to keep up with the potholes, and fields fast enough to keep up with the sand. And you know, it's just not going to work. And so the job of making it work, it's the most important job that human beings have ever come up against. I don't know whether we're going to make it or not. Well, I don't know whether we've started fast enough, and I don't know whether we're going to build fast enough, but there are signs that at least it's beginning to work. It was a really good thing. The 350 Vermont crew has been doing a fantastic organizing job. I don't know where Dave Stember is, someplace out there. Everybody else, the 350 Vermont is doing an amazing job. It was no accident that yesterday Vermont became the first state in the union to ban fracking. Okay? That is a good thing because it means we won't have our landscape wrecked the way that Pennsylvania's has been wrecked. But it's also a good thing because it sends a message to the fossil fuel industry saying, we're on to you. We're standing up to you. We're ready. We're getting ready for this fight. We know you have all the money in the world. I mean, Exxon made more money last year than any company in the history of money, okay? And so we're not going to beat them with money, okay? But we're figuring out the other tools, okay? And what happened in Montpelier will help the people in New York stand up to fracking, and it'll help all of us start to stand up to the fossil fuel industry in general, the industry that gets the greatest special privilege any industry ever could possibly get. They get to pour their waste out for free. Nobody else does that. You know? It would be cheaper and easier for everybody to, if you ran flatbread down the road, the easiest thing to do, I suppose, at the end of the night would just be to toss all your garbage out in the road and that'd be that. But we don't let that happen because that's not civilized. The only, and not that George would ever think of doing it anyway, but the only industry that does get to just put its waste out for free is the fossil fuel industry, and it's the most dangerous waste on Earth. And we've got to figure out how all over the planet we're going to take away that subsidy in the next little while. And it's going to be an epic fight. But it begins by putting this powerful human face on what's happening, so that climate change isn't ever an abstraction again, so that it's not one more little thing on the list of problems than, it's so that we understand that it's become the kind of central operating principle now of our planet, that we've moved out of the Holocene, this 10,000 years of benign climatic stability that underwrote the rise of human civilizations, and we've moved into some other thing. And the only question is how far in we're going to move and how much we're going to resist. And I got to tell you, the interesting moment last summer when we were doing that civil disobedience, and when it turned into the biggest civil disobedience action in 30 years in this country, and when we managed to actually, if only temporarily, we'll see, stop this pipeline down from the tar sands, all environmentalists ever win is temporary victories, and this one may be more temporary than most. Big O's fighting back hard, but for the moment, we stood up to them, and it was so beautiful because it was people from all over the country, and it was people, and I'm looking around at this crowd at the beautiful mix of ages, it was people of all ages who came and helped. One of the things we said, when we sent out the letter, came from me and Wendell Berry and a few others asking people to come for this civil disobedience. One of the things we said was, we don't think young people should have to be the cannon fodder here, They've been leading the climate movement, like Abigail and so many others, been leading the climate movement, but if you're 22 right now in our economy, an arrest record maybe not the best thing we could possibly have. One of the few privileges of growing older is, after a certain point, what the hell are they going to do to you? Now, we did not ask people how old are you, because that would be rude, but we did say who was president when you were born. And the two biggest cohorts came from the FDR administration and the Truman administration. Okay? So give yourselves a round of applause if you're from that world. What I'm trying to tell you is, all of you, is we may need to call on you again in that kind of way. And we definitely need to keep building this movement bigger and bigger and bigger. And when we do, it's going to be out of this solidarity with people in the rest of the world. Not feeling sorry for people in the rest of the world, any more than we want people to feel sorry for us about what happened in Vermont. We don't want pity. We want justice and solutions and change that meets the scale of the problem that we're up against. And the only thing I know for sure, since I don't know that we're going to win this fight, the only thing I do know for sure is that all over the world today, in thousands of places, there are gatherings just like this one, okay? Just like this. Now, some of them look very different because people are in burqas, or people are, pictures coming in from, the poorest parts of the world, from people in Haiti, or people in Ethiopia, people of every kind of background. Doesn't matter what they look like or what their circumstances are, their cast of mind, their heart is in exactly the same place. They're thinking about what the world is going to be like for the people they love, for the places they love. Can we make it work? I don't know if we can make it work, but thank thanks to you all. It will not be for the lack of trying. Thank you guys so much. Now we've got